A Plaguelands Media production.
Hey everyone, this is Hugh from Plaguelands Media bringing you another book review today. So, cheers. Now, today I am bringing you another Troy Denning novel, and this one is quite interesting in as much as it's really not his best work. I was a little bit disappointed in this story. However, there were a lot of things to like about it. This book is the second book in the Lost Empires series. There are two more books to go. This is Faces of Deception by Troy Denning. Now, why did this book kind of fall short for me? There are a few reasons. One, pretty much every main character in this book is highly unlikable. They make decisions and arguments that don't really make a whole lot of sense. The setting itself, this is a Forgotten Realms novel. This is a Lost Empires novel, and it was set in what is known as the Utter East. So you might remember my review of Horse Lords, Dragon Wall, and Crusade. This goes beyond that area of Faerun. Now, the Utter East, though there have been source books and whatnot written about this area, it's not an area that I'm familiar with. And thus, it was very hard for me to conceptualize where this was taking place within the Forgotten Realms, because it's just a place that I haven't really read about. And that's not to the book's detriment, that's to my detriment, because I just prefer other areas of Faerun. Now, with that said, the actual premise of the story is really, really interesting, and the main character has a fantastic backstory that is absolutely unique. I have never read a book that has this kind of main character. Even though he has a unique backstory, even though he's on this quest, it's a very selfish quest. So there's no really noble characters in this book. You could argue that the healer Seema is a noble character, but even then, she just goes like almost bipolar in some parts of this story. Now, what is this story about? For those of you that don't want it spoiled, it's about the main character, Atreus. And Atreus is ugly. Like the Hunchback of Notre Dame would win a beauty pageant next to Atreus. So Atreus believes that the goddess that he worships, Sun or Sune, depending on how you want to read it, Firehair, the goddess of love and beauty, has sent him on this quest. And if he completes the quest, she will take his ugliness away and he will be handsome. That's his motivation. He just wants to look good. So he travels to find this mystical place called Lamdama, or Langdama, Dharma Lama Ding Dong, who the fuck cares at this point? And once he goes there, he's to retrieve a vial of sparkling water from this mystical fountain. And that is your story. Along the way, he runs into some trials and tribulations and comes out the other side all the better for it. Or does he? Well, you know what? If you want to find out, you can stick around. If you don't want to find out, if you want to go and read it for yourself, and I highly recommend reading these books for yourself because they are fun. I mean, yes, I didn't enjoy this as much as other early Dungeons and Dragons novels. Yep, it's not all going to be winners, but it was still a fun read. So if you want to go and do that, please go and watch another one of the Plaguelands Media videos. They are all fucking fantastic, and we've got more coming out in the future. But if you want to know exactly what happens in this book, so you can, I don't know, maybe go around telling people that you actually did read it, when in actual fact all you did was watch the video, you know who I'm referring to right here, then stick around for the next episode of...
Read a fucking book. Read a fucking book. Read a fucking book. People.
Okay. So I said in the introduction that the main character, Atreus, has a very fascinating backstory, and he does. He is, in fact, a nobleman. He comes from a noble family. And when he was a young baby, the enemies of his family attacked them. And in order to keep the baby alive, the court wizard cast a spell on the child to make him look like an ogre, and then gave the baby to the family's like security, this ogre called Yago, who is a shield breaker. He's from the shield breaker tribe. And Yago smuggled this baby out under the pretense that it was an ogre baby, when in actual fact it was a human baby disguised as an ogre. Now, the enemies of Atreus' family end up slaughtering everyone, including the court wizard, so they can no longer reverse the spell. So as he grows up in an ogre tribe, so he's raised by ogres, the spell remains, and he just gets uglier and uglier. Like, his face is scarred, his foot's clubbed, and he's got a hunch on his back, and he's just an ugly little shit. So he tries his best to get this spell reversed, but because the wizard that cast it is dead, nobody seems to be able to reverse this spell. So ultimately, he goes to the church of Soon Firehair, the goddess of love and beauty. He puts all of his wealth into building them a new church and all of this kind of stuff. And after 2 years of devout worship, he goes to the church to take his devotions, to show that he is devoted to Soon Firehair. And he goes up to this fountain, and she appears and tells him, I will break this curse if you bring me a vial of sparkling water from Langdama. Here is a map on how to find it. And he takes this, and he takes his ogre companion Yago, and he starts off on his quest. Now, at the end of that little kind of scene there, it's implied that the priestesses and the priests of Soon Firehair deceived him. Hence the title of the book, Faces of Deception. That is the first deception. Well, the first deception is technically him being made to look like an ogre baby. So he and Yago head off on this quest to the utter east. When they finally get there, it takes about 6 months of travel or something ridiculous like that. When they finally get there, they go to meet with this Queen Rosalind, in this kingdom. Queen Rosalind is a member of the Folk. Now, they are the people that come from the Moonshae Islands. If you've watched my book reviews on Darkwalker on Moonshae, Black Wizards, Darkwell, and the subsequent trilogy, you'll know who the Folk are. But they have basically migrated from the Moonshae Islands, and they've settled in the utter east, and they've built a little kingdom for themselves. And Atreus goes to petition Queen Rosalind, and Queen Rosalind is like, No. Now, as he's going to petition her, all of the children that he passes believe he is the embodiment of this devil character, and they're all kind of frightened of him. And then this man called Rishi comes and he says, listen, I will be your guide. I will help you out. Just be sure to pay me. He's brought, Atreus has brought all of his treasure, his wealth with him, so he obviously can afford to pay Rishi. Queen Rosalind says, no, I'm not helping you find Langdama, and even though you've got a missive from your king, there's no way I would let you go on this quest. You've got to leave. And she escorts him back to his ship to go back to the other part of Faerun where he came from. In the interim, Rishi comes and basically rescues him, frees him, helps him escape so that he can continue on his quest with Iago. And while they are escaping from Queen Rosalind's guards, who are supposed to escort him, Rishi inadvertently kills some people. So they are now marked as murderers. They manage, with the help of one of Rishi's friends, to get on a wagon and with some yaks and head off in the direction of Langdama, because Rishi tells Atreus, yes, I have been there. They are being pursued by the Queen's guards. While they are traveling, they discovered that a lot of rumors have been floating around that Atreus is this devil being that has eaten women and children and slaughtered people and all of this kind of stuff. And this is pissing Atreus off because he's been ugly his entire life and he's dealt with this kind of prejudice before, and he's just getting angrier and angrier. This is a character who cannot actually control his anger because the world thinks he is ugly and he doesn't think he's ugly, but he knows they see him as ugly. And it's this whole big thing that just kind of exacerbates as the story goes on. They come across, they eventually come across this patrol that has a shaman in it. The shaman is suspicious of them. Whenever they pass people, Iago and Atreus have been hiding in this wagon. The shaman is suspicious, and Rishi ends up killing the shaman, attacking the guards, and then they have to fucking hightail it. So they're now being pursued by this captain of the Queen's Guard and this whole patrol. Atreus is pissed off because Rishi killed someone. Rishi's friend discovers that Atreus has all of this gold, and he is like, I will lead you there. If you just give me some of your gold, I'll lead you to Langdama, and so on and so forth. Ultimately, they are traveling through this swamp. Rishi's friend tries to get the gold from Atreus, but Atreus has it in this casket that is magically sealed, which blinds Rishi's friend and burns his hand. The only person that can open it is Atreus. The guards catch up with them. Rishi's friend sells them out, so this huge fight ensues. Rishi ends up killing his friend, and they grab the gold. Atreus, Iago, and Rishi unhook the two yaks, and they head off into the swamp, being pursued by these guards. There's little ambushes here and there, and they fight, and some guards are killed and whatnot, and Atreus is kind of really upset about all of this. But Rishi is trying to lead them to what is known as the Swamp Road or the Queen's Road, which is a river that will take them to Langdama. They get to this river, the patrol catches up with them, but they see some boats on the water, and Atreus is like, let's get them to help us. They can sail us downriver, not realizing that the boats are slave boats filled with slaves and led by an actual devil called Touch. Now, in Dungeons and Dragons, there's demons and there's devils, and this is what caused the satanic panic of the fucking late 80s. But, you know, who gives a shit? If you want to read more about it, there's a fantastic Planescape book called The Blood War. Hold on, let me just pull that out. Hellbound, The Blood War, which will tell you all about the war between demons and devils in the Outer Planes. Yeah, you don't have to include them in your game, but I find the whole concept incredibly fascinating. So this devil is a slaver, and Atreus tries to get them to help while fighting off these guardsmen. And Rishi's like, we should just go down river and we'll go to an inn and they'll give us some boats. And it's this whole, like, 2-chapter freaking battle. It's really cool, actually. Ultimately, they get help from the slavers. Atreus gets pulled into the boat. Rishi goes in after him. But Atreus has dropped the gold in the river and it's sunk to the bottom. And the yaks have fucked off. Atreus has been pretty badly wounded at this point. He's got some pretty grievous wounds from his fights with the patrol people. So Tarch tells this woman, Seema, to heal him because she's a healer. She has a little bit of healing magic and whatnot. And Rishi says, if you spare my life, I can get you all of this gold. So Tarsh throws him into the river to prove that he can swim so he can dive down and get the gold. And when he doesn't surface, Tarsh is just pushing all of these other slavers off the boat to go and rescue him. And while Atreus and Seema have a little back and forth, and Atreus realizes that Seema is a slave and not working for Tarch, he decides to kind of help her, and he basically fucking kicks and defeats the living shit out of 8 of these slavers, thus liberating the boat. Rishi is rescued. And all of the slaves are freaking out because they think he is a slaver as well. When he tells them, no, when you get to safety, you are all going to be free, which they don't believe at first, but then they do. And recovering from his wounds, he falls asleep. And when he wakes up, the boat has been grounded. All the slaves are gone. Rishi and Seema are still there, but Tarsh is also still alive. There's a fight with him and all this cool stuff, and they end up escaping. And they head into the mountains. Seema is kind of guiding them now at this point, but Tarsh is following them. So they head into the mountains in the direction of Langnama, and they kind of get there. There's a few missteps. Yago has been split off from them at this point because he was tailing the patrol, but he manages to make it back. And so now we have this party of Atreus, Yago, Rishi, and Seema, and Tarsh finds them, and a battle between Atreus and Tarsh ensues, and Atreus is wounded even more. The only way to save him, after they manage to kind of push Tarsh into a crevice, the only way to save him is to take him to Langdama, which is actually where Seema is from. Now, all this time she's been telling him it doesn't exist. But it does. It's kind of paradise. It's Nirvana almost, but not quite, because it's on the prime material plane, and they get there through this series of portals. And they go there, and Atreus is met by the leader of Langdama, which is this guy, this angel or angelic being called the Sannyasi. And he heals Atreus, but says, you can't stay here. And he berates Seema for bringing outsiders into Langdama. Now, at this time, we also find out that Tash has managed to get into Langdama, and he has started basically trying to kidnap young women for his slave trade. So while Atreus is recovering, he and Seema form a relationship. Even though Atreus is skeptical because he's so ugly and she is so beautiful. But it's this, how to put this? He has no confidence in himself. Now, this is a really weird character trait because he's basing it purely on the physical, when in actual fact, he's a kick-ass fighter. He's devout. He's kind. He's caring. But he doesn't have any confidence because he thinks he looks like a fucking freak. He looks like the Elephant Man, basically. John Merrick. So they form this kind of relationship, but he struggles when she wants to get physical. And he's like, whoa, no one's ever touched my ding-dong before. In the meantime, Rishi and Iago are exploring, trying to find this fountain in this huge valley place. Langdama is just this large paradise. They decide, when they find out that Tarch has come in, they decide to go and help because 2 women have been kidnapped. And Seema is adamant you cannot kill him. Doesn't matter what he's done. Doesn't matter what he is. You cannot kill him. Not here in Langdama. This is paradise. So they go after him. They find him. They rescue the 2 girls. And when Atreus is just about to kill him, he's like, nope, I'm not going to do that. And the sannyasi comes down, this angel comes down, confronts Tarch, and basically sends him back to hell. And tells Atreus, you did good, you still got to get the fuck out of here, I'll give you 3 days. In that time, there is a rock slide and someone's father gets trapped and they come for help, but they don't want Seema because Seema is no longer a healer. Her powers have been taken away for bringing outsiders into Langdama. They want Iago, the ogre, to come because he's the only one that can lift up the rock. So Iago and Rishi go to help. Atreus is still getting over his wounds. He and Seema follow them, and when they get there, they find Iago trying to lift this giant rock and Rishi kind of pulling the guy out from under this rock before he can be crushed. There is another healer there who berates Seema and basically tells her she's a piece of shit, and she gets all upset, and Atreus is like, the only piece of shit here is you, buddy, because you're being a piece of shit. She's being good, you're a piece of shit. And it's this whole back and forth. They ultimately are about to leave when Seema discovers the real reason why they're there, for this water, this healing water, which they've seen be used on the guy that was crushed by the rock. And she feels that it's a betrayal of trust, but she's like, you know what? I will lead you there, you get the water, and you can fuck off. But this water, when Atreus puts this water in the vial, it loses its potency after like an hour. So getting the water and getting it back to his homeland, which is like 6 months traveling, there's no way it's going to be sparkling. And that was one of the key things that Sune Firehair said. It's got to be sparkling water. He's umming and ahhing over this, and then he's like, wait a minute. This is just from the river. There's got to be a source in the mountain. And Seema's like, oh, you fucking asshole. Okay. So she takes him to this mountain where there's this ruined keep, And there's this thing called the Dweller, which is this beaked octopus with tentacles with mouths on it or something, and it's intelligent, and then they go in there and it can control people's minds, and they basically get past it because it's obsessed with gems in a pool. Rishi is fucking greedy, and he's like, we could kill it and we could get the gems, and Seema's like, fuck you, no. And she leads them through to this temple, and they discover that the source of this sparkling water, this healing water, is a cup. It's called the Fountain of Infinite Grace. It's a cup that has water perpetually coming out of it. And Rishi wants to take it, and Iago wants to take it, and Atreus is like, no, this is the source of Langdama's paradise. No, forget about it. I'll just take a little vial of it, and we will go, which he does. As they try to leave, the Dweller kind of searches Atreus and searches Seema, and they can get past. But when Rishi and Iago leave, Rishi falls, Iago falls. They fall into the pool of all these gemstones, and the Dweller freaks the fuck out and starts attacking Iago and kind of grabs him and bites him and drags him off into these caverns. Atreus and Seema follow, and when they get to Iago, they discover like they fight the Dweller a little bit, but they discover that Iago had gems in his pocket from the Dweller's pool, and that is why the Dweller attacked him, because he was stealing his gems. Or was he? When they fell, Rishi grabbed some gems and snuck them into Iago's pocket. Now, the reason he did this was a diversion. He wanted to go back and steal the Fountain of Infinite Grace, as well as the other treasures that were in that room, in that temple. Sacred items to Langdama. Iago dies, which was actually a very well-written scene, because Iago raised Atreus basically as you would raise an ogre child. So when Atreus feels sad and he's crying, he doesn't let any of the tears fall on Iago, because he's like, that would be weakness to ogres. And so he's kind of fighting his human emotions, but at the same time, his ogre upbringing. It was really touching. Almost teared up reading it on the train. It was just a really beautiful scene. They realize what Rishi has done. They race back, but Rishi has stolen everything. As they leave this place, the sannyasi comes down, the angel comes down, and Seema admits to what has happened and to what has been done, and they can see that the valley is now starting to die. Everything's starting to wither. They basically know that the only way to stop Rishi is to stop him from leaving and get the shit back. Rishi knows that there's only one way to get out, and that is because the sannyasi has blocked off all the other entrances and exits to Langdama. So they race to stop him from going through, he has to get a boat through this whitewater rapids and go through this cleft in the cliffs, and that will get him out. So they race there, they get there first, they hide, and then they see Rishi coming, and they go out there, and there's basically this fight on two boats, and they're jumping between one boat and the other boat, and it's actually a really cool scene. And he's got all the treasures in one boat, Seema's in the other boat. Atreus jumps here, then they fight, and then they jump over here, and Seema jumps over here, and it's all going on back and forth, and Rishi is holding this cup, this fountain. Seema manages to get the other treasures off to the shore. Atreus manages to subdue Rishi and get the cup. And Seema's like, jump. But it's too late. It's almost at the gorge. So Atreus throws the cup and she catches it. And then she starts pouring the water. Because it's an endless thing. It's a magic item in D&D. You can just have this overflowing cup and you just pour it and all the water comes out. And she starts pouring it into the river. And the last line of the book is, he didn't even have a chance to wave goodbye. So, first of all, you don't know what happens to Atreus. You don't know what happens to Rishi. You don't know if the quest was successful. You don't know. You're left with more answers than you do have questions. More questions than you do have answers. So that it was pretty anticlimactic. The ending of this was a bit anticlimactic, but you know, for a fantasy book, it was fun. The backstories were great. The characters, while every one of them was flawed, and there was never really a time when you thought any of the characters were fucking awesome. You never go, hey, fuck, that was cool. I don't know. It just fell flat for me for some reason. Not Goldfinger flat. Don't get me wrong. I would recommend this to people that like early D&D novels. I would recommend this to people that want to read Troy Denning. I'm just saying, not his best work. But every author has hits and every author has misses. So I'm not going to put that against you. I'm not going to put that against the work. And I'm not going to tell you it was a piece of shit, because it wasn't. It was a fun read. It was a fun time. Wasn't the greatest. Wasn't the worst. So it was just middling. Just sitting right in the middle there. Now, I am reading other fantasy books and comics and things along those lines, and really enjoying them. And that is really the whole point. Just read what you want to read, not what people tell you to read. I can recommend stuff to you. I've recommended books to my students this semester. I've recommended movies to my students this semester. I've started going back and rewatching The X-Files, which, just as a side note, have not lost a single thing. It's still fucking awesome. All I'm saying is, like what you like, hate what you hate, but don't bring other people down while you're doing it. So with that said, I'm going to take another drink of this delicious whiskey. This is the first time drinking this. What is this called? St. Andrews, I believe. So, whatever. Have a fantastic rest of your day, everyone. Go out and enjoy whatever season it is. For me, it's fall. And at the moment outside, it's -7 degrees. So, yay. I'm going to go out in t-shirt and shorts and enjoy the -7 degrees weather. Just kidding. I'm going to go watch some more X-Files. But stay safe. Have a fantastic rest of your day. But most important of all, please, 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 everyone, read a fucking book, people.